Well, we all know what I have to discuss now, don't we? While pro wrestling had great events this past weekend, like WWE's Clash at the Castle and AEW's All Out, arguably the most talked about wrestling event of that weekend was All Out's Media Scrum. As many already know, CM Punk went on a huge rant talking about why he is no longer in touch with Colt Cabana and discussing the supposed immaturity of the company's EVPs. Only saying the name of Hangman Page for mentioning the Cabana stuff in one of their promos. This led to Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks going to talk to Punk about it. Some have even reported that the Elite kicked Punk's door down, but I don't think it's confirmed. Then soon after, fists were swung, still not confirmed as to who threw first, which apparently led to Ace Steel throwing a chair, I think, at one of the Young Bucks, Matt apparently getting a black eye, Nick supposedly getting knocked out, and Ace Steel was reported to be pulling the hair of Kenny Omega along with biting him. There's even stuff in other reports saying that Kenny Omega was mainly trying to get CM Punk's dog Larry out of the way so he couldn't get hurt during the brawling, but many apparently had to break it up, and there's no word on if anyone else joined in on the brawl or not. But Sports Illustrated and Wrestling Observer made reports that AEW had made suspensions to the following names: Kenny Omega, Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson, Christopher Daniels, Brandon Cutler, Michael Nakazawa, and Pat Buck. None of the reports mentioned anything of CM Punk or Ace Steel, at least until a little later. CM Punk has been reportedly suspended as of today. This week's episode of Dynamite opened up with Tony Khan addressing that CM Punk has been stripped of the AEW World title and the Elite have been stripped of the Trios titles as well. The Death Triangle became the new Trios champion soon after, and a tournament is in the works for the finals to be a Grand Slam for the World Championship. This is one of the biggest bummers of the year for wrestling, and in so many different ways. Tony Khan was bashed for his lack of responsibility and authority while Punk was going on that public tirade, and having to suspend 3 EVPs of the company can show that not all power can be shown by the boss himself. As for everyone involved being suspended, it was definitely the right thing to do. Regardless of who started everything, no physical contact like that should be happening backstage at all. It's a bummer that Omega and the Bucks ended up getting so physically involved, and it's a shame that Punk had to discuss those topics rather than just winning the world title and the future along with that. Clearly from Dynamite, AEW is trying to fix everything as quickly as possible. I don't think Ace Steel will ever be back since he apparently already had to pay a fine for saying the F word on Dynamite last week. I'm sure Kenny, Matt, and Nick will be back within the next month or two. And the reports have said that CM Punk tore something in his arm or shoulder during the main event with Moxley and already would have been out of action for up to 8 months. So this is just a very sad way to end the All Out weekend. And more than likely sadly solidifies that it could have been the last ever CM Punk world title reign. And who knows, maybe his last run in professional wrestling altogether. Tell me what you think about this whole suspension situation in the comments below.